Welcome to part 2 of Oneness and Wellness. I'm here with Marsha Reddington-Lawton and our guest, Lorraine Goldbloom. And our story today is about Vortex healing, and we're learning a lot. And I believe that someone from the audience had a question.
Yes, this question is for you, Lorraine. For the viewers out there that actually want to take the class, you know, the biggest thing is people are stuck on their belief system.
Yeah.
So is it something that you have to give up to go take the class, or what do you say to people that actually want to take the class but they're stuck on their beliefs?
It's a great question. And in a way, this class sort of scares people because a lot of anything that's effective will bring up your stuff. Right. But no, we don't certainly ask people to drop their stories to buy ours. That wouldn't make a lot of sense, would it? You just come with an open heart, and usually the work speaks for itself. I like to say we play well with others. Most people who come to Vortex, who appreciate it, come from somewhere else. They've done other modalities. They've come through the Robert Brennan School. They've done stuff. So they can sort of discern what work is and what it means. And when you walk into the class in what we call the group field, which is like a little space that the class is held in to help facilitate the work, it tends to bring up stuff for you, sort of like a homeopathic model of, you know, that issue can come up into your face so that it can be more worked with. Stuff that people have already worked on, old belief systems, that stuff seems to come up in a way, and it's very useful because you can see what your stuff is, and then you're given these amazing tools to go after it. Right. So we don't require any particular belief system. I don't ask anyone to drop anything. Just come with an open heart and have an experience of what it is. Be open, I guess, would be the only
That's a really good point, to be open. Yeah. Some people are not even aware of what does it mean to have an open heart, but just to have to be open in some way.
Well, usually we cling to that kind of stuff from a safety place. We cling to our belief structures, whatever they are, because they make us feel safe and secure. So when we're being challenged in that way, they can become that much more important, but that's not where the real safety is. So it's good for all of us to look at our how we hold on to that and how our beliefs make us feel better on a certain level.
Part of coming to the Vortex School or any school, as I understand it, is we've identified that we need some kind of change in our lives. Yeah. Speaking to your question, Jermaine, that we need some kind of change. So it's not an issue of you've got to change this, this, and this. It's my life is running this way. Yeah. This is smooth. This is not. What do I need to do about the not part? What gets in the way? And that's what Vortex is so effective with, is the things that get in the way of our freedom.
Yes, and it goes, you know, we have an experience of surrender, and then we hit something. Okay, so that something is some kind of issue. It keeps us out of presence. It keeps us in fear. So we have a tool to work on it. And then the surrender, and then we hit something. So we work on it again. And, you know, the whole human energy system is beautifully designed to hold issues and conditioning. I mean, it's an incredibly wondrous, creative means of divinity to express and experience itself in separation and then to come back out of it again. So the best we can do is when we hit something is we work on it. You know, we have tools. What is this? Usually by the time we see it as an issue, though, we already have some space around it. You know, by the time we see it, oh, this is something I want, there's a level of surrender that already happens. Because if we don't see it as an issue, that means we're so identified with it. It's a given in our lives. We don't even think to work on it.
So one of the ways that we can take a look at our issues or ask is, what theme in my life, oh, is this happening again? I can't believe this is happening again. It's a theme.
Those are great. Take a look at our themes. You know, what do I keep hitting up? This is a familiar sensation. This is a familiar situation. And then we apply our tools to work on that. What is that really? How does it hold me? Is it the rest of the world? Or is it maybe something that some filter I'm experiencing through? As I said, our issues keep us out of being present, and they create this filter of experience. The same comment from two different people or this, this might have a completely different meaning to you depending on your filter of that particular person. So we work on that stuff, and it allows us to be, more present. And it's great when we recognize issues for what they are. As uncomfortable as they are, if something's really in your face, that means it's workable. It can bug us, but it's workable.
I was recently out of town, and I went to a church service. I hadn't been for a long time, but the minister, the priest who was giving the sermon, said something that really resonated with me. He said, there's rules here and there's rules here. He said, I'm giving you 2 rules to live by, to learn and to love. And I thought, that makes it real simple, So, but to learn, and so even if you're afraid and afraid of taking a class or learning about this, if you stay open, if you say, what's my responsibility while I'm on this earth, is to learn and to love. So to learn, to be open, and to try new experiences. I think that's really good advice.
And I do believe in taking responsibility, even though the play is divine from our position and our experience of being a person. Then, my interest as a person is to look at my stuff, my issues, and so I like to do that. And so I enjoy these tools. But as you keep going and you experience the transformation, it usually starts with a way of, I want to learn these tools to be a better me. I want to be the best I can be. And that's fantastic. But as you keep going, you realize if you're really going to do the surrender thing, you're actually surrendering into the unknown, and that's much scarier. You're like, if I'm going to really give up my identities that these issues have created, then I don't exactly know what's going to happen. And that's why work like this can bring up your stuff, because that's surrender.
Well, I'll ask another question, but you made a statement in one of the classes about how glad you were smart enough to surrender control because you have more joy in your life. Could you please speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I had, when I first started learning this work, I had a pretty particular identity about who I was and what I was supposed to be doing in this life. And I'm really glad that I was not in charge of that, because what happened was I just don't think I would have been as happy. I don't think I would have known the joy. I would have done what I was doing, but I have a background in theater, and I was an actress, and I was a very good one. But there was a point when I kind of realized that the play of it, the life of that, wasn't exactly right, and Vortex found me, and I followed the joy of that. I guess a very Robert Bly, follow your best. I just followed the joy of taking these classes and doing this work without knowing what it would look like, if it would translate into anything. It was one of the few things I did in my life just for fun and curiosity. And so I'm very grateful that it turned out to be what I do now. I consider myself very blessed and frankly lucky, because I wasn't smart enough to
to pay attention to that.
Well, to figure that out, to feel it as a calling. It called me, and I enjoyed doing it, and I followed it. And if I had managed my life from a place that I wanted to, I just don't think I would know the same happiness as I do now.
You brought up something, the whole idea of control, and women have been said that you're very controlling. Women are very controlling, and I think women and men have that little control bug, and so it's
human beings do, absolutely.
It belongs to one sex.
Yeah. And I can speak on this issue because I invented this issue. And control comes from a place, of fear. We're trying to control something. We're trying to control, the feeling of being afraid, of not feeling safe. We're trying to control, prevent ourselves from feeling the loss we felt before. Whatever it is, we're trying to control something. So it's very natural, and it creates tension. It's another way to look at our issues is tension. Is where the body isn't moving, and where we hold more energy than is required to hold that down. And then, so we're holding on to something. So control is hard to work with because we all do it, and very often then it reveals something even more fun and interesting. So we do this dance of, of working on our stuff, and we just keep going. Good days, bad days. But that's, so long as we're here.
No judgment.
No.
That's it.
And that's another way of holding on to our issues, is judging them. We stay in relationship. Oh, this is so awful. This is so bad. It's like your ex, you hold on to that. You're still in relationship with them.
Right.
If we can just say, oh, I have this issue in my system, we're going to work on that. Hey, that's not so easy to do. It's easy for me to say, but the nature of our issues is that it keeps us tight. So in those moments, we have help. Compassion comes for me in this work is where I was met in the place that I most needed to be met, which is the darkest part of that issue. That a divine consciousness can actually come in and touch me there and offer some kind of alternative. That's love and compassion. So when we talk about our issues, it's not a very romantic lineage, but real love is beyond personal love. It's the divine coming in, and this is work where you don't go to some realm to access it. The wheel, Merlin, shows up right here. And everything about the work brings you back into what you really are. Not trying to transform into something else, not trying to ascend somewhere else. It's right here, right now. This is all you need. Our issues cloud the experience of that. And so we work on them.
Right. So that, that feeling leaves me with peace and contentment. It's a place of peace. So, yeah, thank you for that thought. Any other questions from the audience?
I have a question. I can have one. As practitioners, both Marcia and Lorraine, is there a daily practice you do or connection you use to get into the vortex healing mindset throughout the day?
I do. There's nothing official. We do, as part of the basic class as well, we get something called the Merlin mantra, which is a way of just tuning into how this divine consciousness shows up in the system. I find that a fantastic practice because, frankly, I was a really lousy meditator. Should I say that? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe that doesn't reflect well on me, but my understanding...
You're one of us.
My understanding of meditation was that you had to control, sort of stop the mind or use the mind in a particular way. I was just never very good at that. But the mantra that is part of the transmission you receive in the basic class is a way of Merlin meeting you, what I was talking about. And I personally love that as a daily practice because it brings me back in to heart. So, there are no rules, but it's just something I like to do every day to remind myself of that before things get busy and, distracting.
And one of the things, and there's many different things, but one of the things that's outstanding and different for me about the school is that as you take classes and you're introduced to more energies and your capacity to work with it, the way the lineage has it set up is you can activate and ask for specific energies like treatment structures that you do for parts of your body that may be challenged. There's any number of things you can ask that they be running in the background. It's not as much as if you sit down and take a solid half an hour or an hour to do a session for yourself. But the fact that you can activate these energies and have them run through your sleep, run through your day, you are constantly being held. And as you're held in this energy, magic happens. How's that one?
That's good. No, that's well said. Thank you, Marcia. And part of taking classes and doing that work in your daily practice, whatever it is it develops the system. Yes. The system gets stronger. It also gets more fluid. So the setup as Vortex is that you want to be as present as possible with the treatment, with what you're working on, with your meditation and all of that. But as the system develops, there are things that, what you're saying, things can start to support you in the background because your system can handle that. So over time, it really does transform the system, and it allows it to be a better channel for whatever it's doing. Not just Vortex, but a system that's strong and free is a more effective channel for anything.
it's really interesting. I'm getting into it, and we've got a nice question that came from the audience. So maybe if you'll repeat that question and then answer it.
Yeah. No, the question is, and I'm paraphrasing, forgive me, but can this work with the subconscious? Because we have those parts in us that resist. Consciously we want to yeah, this is great, I'm going to do this, and then the parts of us, those deep places that come from terrible karmic past that resist. And yes, thank God, this work does work with that, because as I was saying, that requires a divine consciousness. It requires a divine presence to come in and wake it up out of the story. That's the stuff we can't negotiate with ourselves. We have these inner conversations with ourselves, and I want to do this, but I can't. And we may not be aware of the conversations, but they go on continuously. And only a divine perspective, something from outside of us, can actually go into the heart of that and wake that up. Go into that part that I resist, and I don't know what I'm going to be without this issue. All of that stuff, only a divine perspective can go into the heart of that and really wake that up and return it back to, freedom.
Freedom.
And then that plays through the system. But